I remember there was a day in Claymore here. Well, let me back up. There was a lot of times when Kelsey asked, if I wanted a girl, and I always said, I'm fine with the two boys we have, and I always said that. And then now we're going back to this day when he wanted his hair put up, and so I had tried my hardest. I'm sitting here doing that technique. I'm pulling his hair back. Right when I brushed his hair back, I had instantly there were thoughts, just an explosion of thoughts of this girl that didn't have a face or anything. It was like I was doing my daughter's hair, and so it hasn't been easy for me either. But anyway, if you want to continue.
Hey guys, and welcome back to our channel. You probably already know by the title that this is not going to be the happiest of videos. Honestly, I don't really know what it's going to be like because I haven't started really talking yet. But, so basically we found out that I am currently miscarriaging, still bleeding. And I didn't want to wait until it was over to start talking about it and get how I'm feeling and everything like that. And also if Eli wants to put in anything, he's mostly sitting here for support for me. But if he wants to say anything, he already knows he can. So, I guess we're gonna start at the beginning because that's where it started for us. So on Sunday, we were getting ready to go grocery shopping. Liam's ready, Claymore's ready, Eli and everyone's by the door. And I'm like, okay, I just have to run to the bathroom really quick and I'll be right there. I go to the bathroom and I'm bleeding. It's not normal for me to bleed more than once per month. So it was alarming to me. I told Eli about it and he was thinking about it. I was thinking about it. The voice in my head kept telling me to go to the doctor every time I thought about it. I stopped thinking about it 3 times and then I started, and every time I thought about it, it was go to the doctor in your head. I don't go to the doctor for a lot of things because I don't know, I don't like the doctor. Instead of going grocery shopping, we went to the urgent care. I was positive for a certain pregnancy test. They didn't do a quantitative test. They did a qualitative. So that means they didn't have a HCG level for me. They just were like, yes, she's pregnant. So they said that you need to follow up with an OBGYN to make sure that everything is fine because there's a chance you could be miscarriaging with how much blood you're explaining. So I was bleeding a lot. I would say that my periods are heavy and the bleeding that I was experiencing was medium. So it wasn't quite there, but it was pretty close. It was 75% there. So it was really scary. And every time I used the bathroom, changed a pad, I started getting depressed because it was more and more I don't think anything can be surviving down there. I was zoning out a lot and Eli was trying to bring me back to here, you're okay, you're okay. It's just a weird experience for lack of better word, because weird is not really the word for it. It's I don't know, just to find out you're pregnant like that and then know okay, but, and then the butt is coming in form of blood just coming out of you, and it's just it just didn't feel like anything could be surviving in there. So I was slowly starting to get used to trying to prepare myself for the worst, I guess. So this was Sunday already and I'm just I don't know. I was in pain also. I had a lot of abdominal pain. I had a sharp pain in the left side of my abdomen too, my ribbish area, and then all of the bottom of my stomach was just hurting, very crampy, very uneasy. I had been sleeping with a heating pad on for 4 days before Sunday because it just made it better to sleep. I didn't really think anything of it because I have gas a lot, and so I use heating pads normally. But I guess I probably should have, in hindsight, thought that it was weird. So Monday I called my OBGYN, the one that delivered Claymore and I went to for both pregnancies. My insurance has changed since having the little ones. So they don't take my insurance anymore. So I had to call another OBGYN, and I called, the only one that I knew of was the doctor who delivered Liam. She was the one that was on call in the hospital that day. So I called her office. She wasn't actually available for an appointment on Tuesday, which would have been the following day, but somebody else was. And so this doctor, I go in and I see him. I explained to the nurse everything that was going on. I told her about the bleeding, the pain, the positive sarin pregnancy test, everything. He comes into the room, hey, how you doing? Like, really loud, boisterous voice. Like, Liam is sleeping in the, in his car seat. In his car seat. I immediately looked at Liam to like hope that he hadn't woken up because he was very cranky. And every time I picked him up, it hurt to like pick him up like in my stomach. It kind of hurt. So I didn't want to like pick him up right away. When the doctor came in and was so loud, I was just like a little bit taken aback, number one, and angry. I looked at Liam. He looked at Liam and saw he was sleeping and still was talking at his 100% volume. Like, this was like so loud. I don't even know how to explain it, but I feel like people in the rooms, like 2 to the left and 2 to the right, could hear every word he was saying clearly. Like, that is no exaggeration. The door wasn't even closed. He was talking so loudly. Yeah. So then he like closes the door. He's like, so what made you think you were pregnant? That's the first question he asked. And I was like confused because I was like, do these people not communicate with each other? Because I told them the whole story, everything I have already said on camera. And I was like, I didn't think I was pregnant. I just came in because I was bleeding abnormally and I was in pain. And he was like, okay, so what made you think you're pregnant? Again, like repeated the question. And I was just like, I had a positive sarin pregnancy test at Patient First on Sunday. And he was like, okay, I'm going to have you sit in the back and you're going to do some blood work and they're going to check your levels, your HCG levels. And we're going to do another blood test on Thursday and compare the levels and we'll see what we can do from there. Okay? And I was like, okay. And I didn't realize he was done. He was walking out the door and then he turns back and he's like, oh, and any questions? And he's like halfway out the door, kind of. Like, he is literally like, okay, any questions, but like rushing me. Like, when somebody does that, if I have any questions, which I had like 1,000 because I've never been through this before. I'm scared, I'm worried, I'm everything. And he is acting like he's got way better places to be. And so it kind of threw me for a loop and I forgot every question that was on my mind except for, so do I need to be doing anything differently? Like, I mean, can I, and he's like, what do you mean by that? And I'm like, can I go back to work? Can I resume like normal activities and stuff? And he was like, I wouldn't do anything rambunctious. I looked at Eli and was just like, and he looked at me and we're both like, we don't know what that means. Like in this, like, so I was like, what does that mean? And then he was just like, well, no activity. And by that, I'm sure you already know what he means, which we could already figure out. Exactly. We don't need to go to a doctor to figure that out. I was like, okay, so lifting and stuff like that. And he was like, yeah, I wouldn't do anything rambunctious. Okay, so blood test. And like, then he leaves. And I was just like, did you see that? Like, you know what I'm saying? It was really upsetting. Like, I didn't know what to think after that. And I had more questions than I had answers. And yeah, so I got the blood drawn. And then we went grocery shopping. I was really feeling uneasy, so we cut it kind of short and only went to one place and then we went home. And then on... Did we go to two? Doesn't matter. Oh yeah, well, it was two places. It was 2 places. Sorry, it was supposed to be more than 2 places. We cut it short though. It was supposed to be about 3, like 4 or 5. God, we didn't do that. Also, okay, when I went to Patient First on Sunday, the lady was like, okay, so she was pregnant actually. She was 8 months pregnant, which was bittersweet, I would say, because like, and I'm happy for her. I'm not like, you know, anything. I'm also happy for me. I have 2 beautiful kids. I know that. But so basically, like, she was like, I'm going to give you a note off for work until next Sunday. And you need to follow up with the OBGYN so they can figure out everything. and I just don't want you to lift up like anything heavy or anything like that. So in asking the doctor what should be done, I was more a little like testing him to see if he actually cared, because I had already been told, like, don't lift up anything heavy, don't go back to work because you pick up these really heavy trays at work, and no like activity or anything like that. But that was all the instruction that I was given, and she told me that the OBGYN would give me more detail. He didn't at all. Like, he completely dropped the ball on that. So Thursday came, the blood results weren't in. And at patient first, the results came in pretty quickly. So I was just like, how is it a couple days? The lab for this place is right underneath of them. So, like, I get that a lot of people go there and stuff, but it was just a little annoying because I didn't know what was going on with me. Like, every day I was having more pain. I was, like, the blood flow seemed like it was increasing, and then it would taper off, and then it would get heavier again. So I wasn't doing very well. Like, mentally, I was going through a lot of stuff. Like, you know, like, it just feels... it's harsh, like, just feeling like your body is not a good, I don't know, just a lot of things were going through my head that shouldn't have been, but they still were. Thursday comes and I'm starting to freak out. Like, I just want to know what's going on. It's just been a really long time, and I want to know if everything is okay with the baby or if it's not. And I'm really leaning towards the fact that it's not okay, but I just want to know. I call the OBGYN office again, and I'm like, hey, is the blood results in? They're like, no, this is 12 o'clock on Thursday. And they say that they will get a nurse to call me back. So then at that point, I call patient first, and I'm like, hey, is there any way that you did a quantitative test and just didn't put it down on the thing? And they're like, no, we didn't do a quantitative test. Have they checked you yet? Have they given you a... what is it called? Pelvic exam or anything like that? Have they given you any results yet or checked you? This was when I called patient first. You were at work at that time. And I was like, no, they haven't done that. They've done blood work, but I'm still waiting for the results. And so she goes, you know what? I would definitely just go to the emergency room. If you're not going to get the results by tomorrow, I would go to the emergency room because they can do everything. At around 3:20, the OBGYN office called me back, and the nurse says, this is your results. Your levels are at a 15. So if it goes, we are going to do more blood work. You should come in on Friday, like tomorrow, to get more blood drawn so that we can compare and see if it's increased to a rate that's good, so we can tell if the pregnancy is a viable pregnancy or not, or if you're miscarriaging, and we should probably know by Tuesday. So I am supposed to go back to work on Wednesday, and I was leaning more towards what the nurse said at patient first for me to do. So I call Eli, who is at work, and I'm like, hey, we're going to have to go to the emergency room when you get home. And so at around 7, we went to the emergency room. I was super tired, and I just needed to sleep and eat and all of that stuff before we went, and before we knew it, it was like 7 p.m. So, I think I'm missing some things. I don't know. I feel like I'm missing something.
No, I mean, we just slept and got ready, ate some stuff, got there. There was a lot of people when we got there.
The emergency room.
So we knew it was going to be a wait.
Yeah.
But we didn't know it was going to be as long as it was. But
we spent almost
quite a bit of people.
3 hours in the waiting room, which is crazy. There was this guy in there who, he looked like he was having a stroke in the waiting room, and I was really like worried about him. The guy who was with him kept on going up to the front and asking, like, hey, is it, like, when is he gonna be able to go back? And the lady was like, I don't have any control, there are 2 different places, blah, 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 blah. I was really worried about the guy, but I was happy when they finally took him back there. But then at some point he ended up back in the waiting room, and I was just like, why is he back here? Like, and then I realized, because they did the same thing with us, they took us back, checked my vitals, and then sent us back out in the waiting room to wait for an actual room. So we spent about 3 to 4 hours, like it was like 3.5 hours in the waiting room. And then in the room, it was like 12 hours total. So when we got in there, the nurse was asking me a bunch of questions. Then the doctor came in and got some information from me. I forgot to tell him about the whole thing with me getting 15 as the number. So by this time, before I even went into the hospital on Thursday, I was like, Eli, I am almost 100% that I'm having a miscarriage because I did some Googling, which I know I'm not supposed to do Googling. Everyone frowns upon it, but you know what? Google helps sometimes. So Google basically told me that you have to have levels of 26 or higher to show up positive for a sarin pregnancy test. I'm not sure if that's correct or not. But if my levels were 26 and then on Tuesday they were 15, it's clearly going down, which would show that I'm having a miscarriage. So I went into the hospital mostly to make sure that everything was okay with me, and also to make sure that I wasn't having 2 kids, 2 babies maybe, and like one wasn't making it. I don't know. Like I just wanted to know what was going on. They asked me a bunch of questions. The doctor came in and he was very like thorough with all the questions he was asking, except I forgot to tell him the one thing about the number, the 15, because it just blanked. So I told the nurse that, but it doesn't seem like these people talk very much to the doctor, because like throughout all the places I've found that they, like, no matter how many times you tell like the nurse, it's like whenever the doctor comes in, they ask you the same questions that the nurse asked you. Like, and so every time it just was like, okay, I'm gonna have to tell someone anyway. And after telling the story so many times, you sometimes forget to say certain things. So they did an ultrasound and I had to go to the ultrasound by myself. Eli and the boys were in the room. And so I went to the ultrasound.
Like the longest wait ever, honestly. Even though it wasn't very long.
I don't know how long it was, but
I'd say about 30 minutes.
30 minutes. I was wheeled down there. I have a horrible sense of time, like, but it just, that's what he's for. She did like first an ultrasound, like external ultrasound, and she couldn't tell me anything, but I got pretty good at reading ultrasounds because of Liam and Clay. I asked a ton of questions during those ultrasounds, so I pretty much know what to look for. So she left the room. The screen wasn't facing me, so they didn't want me to like see anything. I guess they know I asked questions. Like, I'm not sure, but anyways, I got up to go and empty my bladder for the internal ultrasound, and she left the room. So I like looked at the screen and I didn't see anything. So then she did the internal ultrasound, and at some point during it, the whole thing was very suspenseful because I'm just looking at her face the whole time. And then she started measuring things, and I was like, thinking in my head, like whenever they were measuring the baby, that's when they would like do the little circular ball thing and click like and drag and like do the measuring. And so I was like, okay, maybe there's a baby in there. And then I was like, maybe there's something bad in there though. Like, you know, my head is just spinning. And then the heartbeat played for like, it was like 1.5 seconds or so maybe. Like I just heard like this boom, boom. And it kind of sounded slow. And I was like, okay, the baby's heartbeat's usually really fast. But that was a heartbeat though. And so I'm like starting to feel like, okay, it's just like heavy spotting maybe. And I'm fine. And the baby's fine because I just heard a heartbeat. And so I am smiling and I'm happy and I'm wheeling back to the room and I see the boys and Eli, and it's like, I'm like, okay, I think everything's fine because I'm pretty sure I just heard a heartbeat. The doctor comes in. Was it the doctor? Yeah, the doctor came in.
He did the exam.
And he was like, okay, so the ultrasound came back and they don't see anything in there. So there's probably just a chance that you are too, like, you're not far enough along for them to see anything in there. But we're gonna do a pelvic exam. He did the pelvic exam and everything looked fine. He didn't see bleeding from any, like, bad places, I guess. And my cervix was closed, he said. At some point, he said that my levels were extremely low, but didn't tell me what they were. He said that that could also be because I was very early on in the pregnancy, but I would have to follow up with an OBGYN, and he was going to give me an OBGYN's name and number to like follow up with on Friday, I think. Or no, Monday, sorry. So I said okay, and I thanked him, and then I started getting curious because I was like, this is going to be another waiting game and I want to know now. So the nurse came in and I asked her, is there any way that you can tell me what my actual levels were? And she was like, yeah, it's a 16, I think. I'm pretty sure it was a 16. She just like said it right off the top of her head. And I just started smiling again because I was like, okay, everything's fine. The baby's just too small for them to be able to tell. And I just like, I don't know, I'm just like naturally a very hopeful person. So even when everything seems bleak, this little ray of sunshine, I will gravitate towards that even though the whole rest of the room is completely dark. And so there I am again like, okay, everything is fine. Like, we're okay. And then she looks it up for real in the whatever she had, and she was like, I'm so sorry. It is actually 6.65. I'm really sorry. I don't know why I was thinking that it was a 16. I don't know why I said that. I'm really sorry. And then I was like, actually, okay, that's just like confirmation that it was a miscarriage, like at that point. And it all just started to like sink in. I wasn't upset with her or anything. Honestly, I felt bad for her because making that type of mistake must really suck. Like really, really suck. Like for her, a lot. Like, and I'm happy that there were no other like nurses or doctors in the room to hear that because it could have been kind of bad. But anyways, at that point it just started to like really sink in. And I thought I was preparing myself already for it. And I think I was, because it didn't hit me as hard as it could have because I still was thinking about the possibility. I had had some cries about it already and some just here and there, like just trying to think about the possibility so that I didn't completely break down when I found out that it was true. I guess I was putting the pieces together like the whole time, like, you know. So it wasn't as bad as it could have been. And honestly, I think I am okay. Like, I still am sad, like, when I think about it. But I also know that I have a lot to be grateful for. I have my husband and I have my kids. Like, I have my mom, my dad, my sisters, my brother, my grandma. I have a huge support system. And not that that makes the pain go away, but it definitely helps a lot. I know it's hard now because I'm still going through the bleeding phase, and I am going to check in with the OBGYN and on Monday or Tuesday to do more blood work just to see that everything is normal with me, but at the same time everything looked okay. I am healthy. We will be able to try again in the future if we still decide that 1 or 2 more children is something that we want to do. There are a lot of things for us to be grateful for right now. Like, just the fact that we have a roof over our heads and the sun's shining through the windows. And I feel like gratitude for where we are right now is what's going to get us through this and help us realize that everything is going to be okay. Even though sometimes things get dark or down, and I've been through grief before. And because of that, I know how not to handle it. I know that brushing it off and trying to pretend that it didn't really happen is not the best way to go, because it did happen, and if you keep on holding it off, it's going to just kick you in the face one day and say, here I am, and knock you down, and you won't be able to get up for a really long time. And so now is when I'm going to talk about it. I'm not going to not talk about it. I'm going to talk about it as much as it gets into my head. Talk about it until I don't know. I don't know if this is something that people don't think about after a while or not, because I've never been through this. I don't think that I will not think about it, even though it was early on and I just found out a week ago and then just found out again a week ago that it was never going to happen or not going to happen. It's still a loss. It's still a life that could have been. You still think about what he or she would have looked like, what it would be like to hold them, what you would name them. You still think about stuff, you know? And it's still hard. And it's not just hard for me. It's hard for Eli. And the boys are too young to know. And I'm happy for that, because I don't want them to be sad about anything. I'm not the first woman in my family to have a miscarriage. 2 women in my family that are super strong, and I look up to them, have had one. And they told me about it before this ever happened. And so when this happened to me, I was sad. But I didn't feel lesser, because I don't see them as anything lesser. So why should I feel like I've lost anything in myself? Like, I don't blame myself for this. Whether you knew or didn't know, you can't go back and put down that heavy crate of trash or that super, you know, whatever it was. I can't afford to check out, even though sometimes that seems like the easier way. I already started zoning out a lot, and Eli's been bringing me back, and thank you, I appreciate that. But I guess when I feel down, I'm going to channel that negative energy into a hobby or something. I actually did have a lot of hobbies that I used to do, and now I've put them away because I felt like I don't have time for them. But more than not having time for hobbies, I don't have time to check out. So I'm going to try drawing again and writing again and other things to help me get past, not get past, but get through. And so I don't know exactly what the future holds or anything, but until I know, I just know that I'm gonna do this differently than I'm just gonna do this differently. Like, I'm not going to feel guilty for laughing or crying or any type of emotion that I have. I'm just gonna be open with myself, and at least try to be. And I feel like that will help more than anything else, because I will be not hiding everything. My whole life, I guess, I have tried to keep things in, especially when I'm around someone, and not try to let anyone get down by me. Like, I feel like emotions can be passed on, and so like when I walk into a room of people, even if something horrible is happening inside, I bottle it up and I put a smile on, because I don't want that to transfer to anyone else. I want to be alone in my sadness, in my pain, in my everything. But I don't think that that's a healthy way of handling things. And so this time, I'm going to talk about things. I'm going to draw. I'm going to write about it. And I am going to hope that things will get better soon. And
the court will definitely be mine.
Basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basketball's gotten me through a lot.
Thank you guys so much for watching our video. And yeah. Guess I'll see you soon. Bye.